Every bean's different as well, depending on the processing, the elevation it was grown at. You could smell it's different, it roasts differently to a washed, and one from Brazil will roast differently to something from Ethiopia. To go to farms is so cool and like see the people that are getting involved. It's generally a very sort of rural area. Everyone like thinks, oh, these cool cafes, but it doesn't start like that. You have these super rural communities in Africa or South America, and then you get this crazy good coffee coming from there, and then all these snobs that are using it at the end. But yeah, it's really cool to kind of be that sort of vehicle for people to connect them with the producers really, and kind of get them to appreciate the amount of effort and stuff, because everyone knows coffee, it's always around, so you just kind of assume it comes as roasted coffee and it just, I don't know, it grows like that. But there's people that do it, and generally they're struggling as well. I guess with a lot of people, what they end up doing, they didn't plan to do it all. With coffee, it was kind of just like something I was interested in. Not just the coffee as in the drink, but that and like the place where it's in, so like the cafe vibe. When I was at university in New York, I became known as the guy who knew the coffee shops. So like whatever area in Manhattan or Brooklyn, they're like, I'm going there, Dale, where must I go? Because I used literally every opportunity to check out different places, like either interesting vibes or if they were roastery and I knew the coffee would be good. At that point it was like I was only drinking cappuccinos, like I wasn't like a snob at all. After coming back from the States and kind of coming back in COVID, I got back and all the kids stayed at my parents' place during lockdown, and my dad luckily had just put a coffee machine in at home. So I was like, well, I've done all the customer side, I might as well learn how to make. So I kind of just went for it, trial and error. I have a family of 6, so a lot of people to taste. You know, if I show you the pictures of when I started, it just looked atrocious. Plans with COVID, like everyone else, kind of went sideways, and so ended up with some time. So the cafe there, just the garage part, my dad and I and one of the guys that worked for him, we just renovated that and thought, oh, we'll just do a little pop-up coffee shop. Crane flower is another name for Strelitzia, and I was thinking Strelitzia coffee doesn't sound good at all. So crane flower actually just worked well, and we had some letters in our garage, and I was like, oh, I have the right letters for these, and they're like, silly enough, that kind of was one of the reasons. I was like, oh, I can use it, let me just do it. And now it's still working, and so that's cool. But yeah, that's pretty much how we got it. The coffee shop was running, and obviously a few new people were coming in, and there was one guy that came, he's like, yeah, me and my mate made these little roasters, like hand roasters just to start, and you roast like a kg at a time. It's like, there's no temperature probes, nothing, it's like all sort of hands-on, very old school. And it wasn't too expensive. I was like, well, I have to just do this for interest. You hook it up to a gas thing, and then you switch the gas on, you can change it a little bit, and you change the speed, you spin the thing. It has to be in like a kind of open room, because otherwise you like smoke yourself out. You learn more about the roasting, having to learn everything by hand, and like smelling and listening and kind of feeling it out rather than having this probe tell you this and that. So when I actually switched to the big roaster, then I think I butchered one roast, and I thought I was going to go through a whole bag, so it was actually quite cool. And then when a few more people asked to get coffee, I ended up roasting like 4 hours in a day, smoking everything out, and it was like ridiculous. Luckily, from working in the States for a while, I could have the capital to get the roaster. Got it about a year ago, so May 22. And yeah, we've been using that since. I think I used the mini roaster maybe half a year ago. It's also just really rewarding when you have a cafe or someone like this guy orders a coffee, he walks off, he takes a sip, and he turns around and he's like, man, what coffee do you use? And this is like really cool, because obviously appreciates it, and so what you're doing, you know that people are appreciating, and like you must be doing something right. But yeah, I think eventually like the long-term sort of point will be to build a sort of thing that people know and can teach people to appreciate coffee, but at the same time like support the people on the other side that are making it. So to directly get from farmers and directly pay them and make sure that their work is also being appreciated and that they're getting compensated for it. We're not right there yet, but hopefully we'll get there. Yeah. Or at least just kind of link it so that these people know that what they're doing is being appreciated, even if it's not they're becoming rich from it, you know. I think it goes both ways. Like the people drinking the coffee don't realize how much work goes into the growing and the processing and the picking and whatever. And then the growers, they sell it, but they don't really, they live in a rural community and they've never had a cappuccino in their life. For them to realize how obsessed people are with their stuff, you know, it's really cool for them, I'm sure. It's like fulfilling in a way.